the race.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this afternoon's live commentary coverage for NASCAR Cup Series practice and qualifying from the Kansas Speedway for this weekend's running of the Hollywood Casino 400 as we begin the second race of the round of 12 for the 2025 NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. Thank you all so much for tuning in for this first of 3 live commentary streams on this NASCAR race weekend at Kansas Speedway and our first of 2 on this Saturday afternoon. NASCAR Xfinity Series racing will be coming up as soon as practice and qualifying will wrap up over the next couple of hours. And as practice has just begun, we've had quite a few drivers already take their place and making their first laps on the racetrack this weekend. Xfinity Series practice and qualifying actually wrapped up a little bit earlier on, and now it's time for the Cup Series to do what they can do around this mile-and-a-half racetrack for tomorrow's 400-mile, 267-lap race. You can see the full leaderboard for the Group 1 drivers who are on the racetrack. 18 of them have made a lap so far. And those drivers would include Chris Buescher, Zane Smith, John Nemechek, Eric Jones, Justin Haley, Todd Gilliland, Ty Dillon, Cole Custer, AJ Allmendinger, Ty Gibbs, Daniel Suarez, Shane Van Gisbergen, Riley Herbst, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski, Cody Ware, and JJ Yaley. Group 1. Chris Buescher has the fastest time so far. He's currently put down 5 laps. 30.672 is the fastest lap for Buescher early in the session. Runner-up in the spring race here last season. And probably one of the better drivers at Kansas Speedway statistically for those who are in this first group of 18. Marcus Villarreal, Bam Hall, many others, thank you for tuning in. Our like goal for practice and qualifying streams throughout the season has been 50 likes, so be sure to hit the like button so we can get to that like goal by the end of the stream. True TV is for visual purposes as to where you can watch today's live commentary, or sorry, not the live commentary stream, but can watch the visual purposes of practice and qualifying here on this live commentary stream, obviously audio only. I'll play a little bit of the broadcast volume on True TV, more for the practice side of things than anything else. Then I'll take over for qualifying a little later on.
Like there's things that I wish I could have done a little differently.
Steve, in the right direction. Let's do something here with 6 minutes plus left in the practice session.
Yeah, AJ's been pretty good on the mile-and-a-half track so far this season. I'm actually going to pull that up for his race finish results because he could be a good fantasy pick for this weekend in the KRC Fantasy League. Yeah, mile-and-a-half racetracks this season for the 16 team has been the bright spot. Really intermediate tracks in general. Had a fifth at Darlington in the playoff opener. Top 5, one of only 2 of them on the season. Had a 4th place finish in the Coke 600 earlier in the year. And couple of top 10s on other mile-and-a-halves early in the season, Las Vegas, Homestead. So 3 mile-and-a-half track, top 10s, one of them was a top 5. And the most recent, close to a mile-and-a-half racetrack we have had on the schedule, Darlington, especially when it comes to low grip and a lot of tire fall off, 5th. Now, we're not going to see as much tire fall off this weekend as what we did at Darlington Raceway. But long run speed is definitely going to be important. And it really tends to come down to who can control their car the best on the bottom lane of the racetrack when you go to Kansas, because the top line is going to be the preferred one. Very similar to Homestead, where again, he had a top 10. You got to be able to run off the wall, though, to make passes. And the passes are going to be harder and harder to come by as you get later in the run, because everybody's searching for more grip up near the wall. You can have that extra added side force. And especially when it comes to this weekend in particular, it's going to be very, very warm. They were mentioning that on the broadcast a little bit ago. Pull out the old trusty Weather Channel app to see what the temperature is going to be like Kansas City, Kansas this weekend. Right now it is currently 82 degrees, which for this time of the year is pretty warm. Late September, we're into the fall months. Xfinity race later today, it's supposed to get up to about 86. And tomorrow going to be even warmer, a high of 89. And we know when it comes to warm weather races and when the sun's out, the track gets slick. And handling becomes much more important and hard to come by. Less than 20 seconds remaining for Group 1 practice. I'll go through the leaderboard again. Chris Buescher, fastest. Zane Smith, second. John Nemechek, third. Fourth for Eric Jones. Justin Haley, fifth. Todd Gillen in sixth. Ty Dillon, seventh. Cole Custer, eighth. AJ Allmendinger, ninth. Noah Gregson in 10th. Ty Gibbs, 11th. Daniel Suarez, 12th. Shane Van Gisbergen in 13th. Riley Herbst, 14th. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 15th. Cody Ware, 16th. Brad Keselowski, 17th. Kyle Busch, 18th. And JJ Yeley, 19th. Buescher ended up putting down, it looks like 30 laps in that session. Most laps in the session, SVG and Riley Herbst, the two rookies, going for 35 consecutive laps from minute 1 through minute 25. Wade, Roz, thanks for tuning into the stream. Didn't get to shout you guys out yet. I saw you tuning in there recently. And on to Group 2 of practice, which that means as the commercial break is going on, we'll highlight the point standings for the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. Scrolling across the top of the screen from start of the stream to the finish, but we'll highlight it in depth on the big screen now in front of us. Ryan Blaney with the win last week at New Hampshire, locked into the round of 8 of the playoffs. Obviously the only driver to do so with there only being one race in the round. Win is the automatic bid, but we're guaranteed with the round of 8 to have at least 5 drivers get their way in on points. Right now on the point standing side of things, William Byron plus 47 is the highest without a win. Kyle Larson plus 41. Plus 29 for Christopher Bell. Denny Hamlin plus 27. Joey Logano plus 24 after a solid top 3 day, really the whole race. A lot of stage points, stage win, and a top 3 finish. And then Chase Elliott plus 14 and Chase Briscoe plus 12. So they're the last couple of drivers above the cut line. The first drivers below, Ross Chastain, Austin Cindric at minus 12 and minus 19. And the 223.11 Toyotas minus 23 and 27. Reddick is 23. Wallace minus 27 below the cut line. Both racetracks where they've ran well. Bubba won here in this very playoff race a couple of years ago. And as for Tyler Reddick in that 45 car, very good when it comes to, as they'll say on the broadcast a lot this weekend, ripping the boards up near the top of the racetrack. Dirt racing background really comes in handy at a track like Kansas. All right. So 25 minutes for Group 2. Again, will be coming up post-commercial break on True TV. Single car qualifying will be immediately to follow, all right here on the channel and on this stream. NASCAR Xfinity Series racing today at 4 p.m. Eastern. We'll be live on the channel for that. And we'll also be live for the NASCAR Cup race tomorrow afternoon, which we will begin our pre-race coverage at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. And I'm actually going to be doing a NASCAR 08 race at Bristol Motor Speedway starting at 1 p.m. Eastern, leading into the start of the live commentary stream, since I was not able to get to that yesterday. So making it up for you guys so we don't fall behind there and catching up tomorrow. So doubleheader on the channel today, doubleheader tomorrow, but as far as the live commentary streams go, we've got 3 of them. For the Kansas race weekend. Trucks will be back in action next weekend at the Charlotte Roval, their first trip ever to the Roval configuration in Concord, North Carolina. Mainstay for the Xfinity and Cup schedule since 2018, but start of the round of 8 of the playoffs for the trucks as well. Got the Roval, Talladega, and Martinsville. What a wild round for the Craftsman Truck Series over the next month. If one more off week left in the season as well when Xfinity and Cup action heads to Las Vegas. Second race of the round of 12 for the playoffs for the Xfinity Series later today as well. No more off weeks for Cup, obviously, as they only had one all season, and then Xfinity will be on from now through Phoenix to the end of the season as well.
And Kansas Speedway continues on the CW with the Xfinity Series race coming up at 4 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. Countdown to green starts at 2:30 Eastern.
Oscar, welcome to the stream. What happened to Hocevar? He hasn't practiced yet. He's going to be in Group 2. There are a couple non-playoff drivers in the second group. And he is one of them.
Here. Yeah, it was the quickest overall, and as you mentioned,
Busher fastest overall. We'll look at the lap average sheet now. You just heard an interview from Zane Smith. He had the fastest 5 and 10 lap average of the Group 1 drivers. AJ Allmendinger with the best 15 lap average of anybody in that session. And then after the 15 lap run, there weren't as many drivers to go 20 plus consecutive laps, but of those drivers, Eric Jones had the fastest 20, 25, and 30 lap averages in the session. So Legacy Motor Club looking good on another intermediate track in the second half of the season. And it seems like where we find Nemechek is where we find Jones and vice versa between those two Legacy Motor Club Toyotas every weekend. And I'm sure tomorrow at Kansas will be more of the same. Toyota returned back to where they were in the first round, dominating the first 3 races before Penske and the Fords took over last weekend at New Hampshire with Logano Blaney. Blaney with the win, obviously. And then Josh Berry with a runner-up as well for the Wood brothers. Top 3 in qualifying, top 3 in the race. Berry got a win on a 1.5 miles at Las Vegas earlier in the year. And Joey Logano, a multi-time Kansas winner. I believe his last win here coming in 2021 in the fall race. Yeah, no wreck for Hocevar, just in the second group. Trying to think of the non-playoff drivers in the second group that haven't made a lap yet. Got McDowell, Austin Dillon, Carson Hocevar. I know Alex Bowman still has to go out there yet. So we've seen the Group 1 times hold up pretty well for the first few playoff races. Then last week at New Hampshire in practice, a lot of the playoff drivers were able to actually jump up into the top 10, including William Byron, who was in that second group, and he was actually able to run the fastest time of anybody. And I think that's because we were back to an afternoon session for practice. So we'll see if that'll be the case here as well. It wasn't a green racetrack last week because they had the truck race before Cup practice and qualifying. And as for this week at Kansas, although the Xfinity race is still later, we did have Xfinity practice and qualifying within an hour or two before the Cup cars hit the track. Back to green flag action. We'll take a quick break, and as soon as they come back from commercial, let you listen into more of the TV on-air audio for the first few minutes, leading into the next commercial where I'll take over yet again.
Get out there tomorrow and see what we got. Thanks, Ryan. Before we spoke, he acknowledged to me that he is okay, guys.
good.
14.5 minutes to go, a little less than that now for NASCAR Cup Series practice at the Kansas Speedway. This is the second group of 2 with their 25-minute session. And after the Blaney incident with the right rear tire failure and a crash at turns 1 and 2, NASCAR did add a few more minutes back to the clock post-caution for the teams that were in this group to get their full 25 minutes of practice in. Chris Buescher is the fastest overall still. He was in Group 1. Denny Hamlin, fastest playoff driver, and anybody from Group 2 overall fastest for Hamlin. 30.737 for his lap. Buescher's lap, 30.672 as his best. Bubba Wallace in 4th. Chase Briscoe. If we just look at the top 5, you're going to see 3 Toyotas and then 2 Hendrick Chevys of Larson Elliott would be 4th and 5th fastest of this group. Reddick, Bell, also looking pretty quick. And Toyota's pretty good here at Kansas Speedway in the next-gen era, and you consider the intermediate tracks of the first round with Darlington and Gateway, and they were both looking really good. Maybe a return to form here this weekend. And as for Wallace and Reddick, they need some good runs this weekend if they're going to want a shot to try to point their way into the playoffs. Roval looming after the fact. Maybe not a great racetrack for Bubba Wallace, so being in a hole right now is not what they wanted to be in after New Hampshire. Both Reddick and Wallace finished outside the top 20 in that race, so no speed at all last week. Reddick was able to salvage a few stage points early in stage 1 because of a good qualifying effort, but that was the only thing saving him from having a worse day in the point standings of what he actually ended up having. So we're going to do a shorter NASCAR Sporkle quiz in the back half of practice, then I'll go through the practice finishing order as soon as things wrap up in about a dozen minutes. As we motor our way on through this live commentary stream, NASCAR Kansas. And we'll see what we've got. I want to try to find a shorter quiz, if possible. Wonder if they've got anything for the fall race. Fall. No. Okay, so they've got nothing there. Joey Logano got problems too?
And Poda.
No, just coming up for adjustment changes. It looks like the pit road. I thought maybe he had a flat tire like Blaney did. They're both pretty slow on the leaderboard, so I'd assume similar air pressures for Logano and Blaney to start practice, maybe a little bit too low. So I think I'm going to do this one. This is NASCAR Cup Series, Xfinity Series, and Truck Series winners at the Kansas Speedway. First race in all 3 series was in 2001. Truck at Xfinity, they've only had about 1 race a year here, sometimes 2 for trucks. And obviously for the Cup Series, 1 race a season here until 2014? 2012. I think this ad is playing in my ear. That was so random. I don't know what that was. You guys probably didn't even hear it, but I did. Let me make sure the desktop audio is not on. Yeah, it's not on. I swear the volume was muted. All right, anyway. Yeah, we're going to do this quiz. 9 minutes to wrap up practice. They've got about 9.5 minutes left. And you guys can play along in the chat. Anybody who has ever won a NASCAR race at Kansas in Cup, Xfinity, or Trucks. We got to start off with the Cup winners. No particular order. I'm just going to put Jimmy Johnson, Tony Stewart, got to spell, Tony Stewart, Bubba Wallace, who we were talking about a little bit ago, has a win here. I was there for that race. Joe Nemechek. And John Hunter Nemechek is going to be on here as well. Jeff Gordon. Greg Biffle. I know Matt Kenseth has won here. Truex has won here. Busch. A lot of Kyle Busch, all 3 series. And Kurt Busch as well. Tyler Reddick, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson. 2024 fall. Well, I know Harvick has won here before. Blaney has not. Mark Martin win here? He has. '11. No. Casey Kane? He's won here in the Busch Series. Boyer win at his home track here in the Busch. Trucks he did. Zane Smith is on here. They were interviewing him a little bit ago. Ryan Newman has a win. Logano has a few. Keselowski. William Byron, Chase Elliott. Elliott's got a cup when Byron was in trucks. I'm stumbling on last year's fall. Yeah, it is fall. So last year in the fall at Kansas. And Joey Logano did stop on the racetrack, by the way. So it looks like he did have a flat right rear tire with about 7.5 minutes to go. We'll see if they put time back on the clock eventually. Sterling Marlin. Oh, no, he did not win here. I was thinking he did. Oh, that's where he had his crash. My bad. My bad. James Bush. Oh, Ross Chastain won this race last year. There we go. It was a non-playoff driver. That's why it was throwing me off. Justin Allgaier has not won here. Okay. Brandon Jones, I know, has won twice. Sheldon Creed in trucks. Corey Heim twice. Eckes. Yes. Almirola? Eric Almirola won last season at Kansas. For Xfinity, we have had all the Cup winners, so we need Xfinity and truck winners at Kansas Speedway. We got 5.5 minutes on the clock, 68 of 94 so far. Whoops. Alrighty. Suarez? No. How about Dylan? No. Austin Hill? Austin Hill in trucks has won. Crafton has won here 3 times. Of his 12 victories, that's a pretty good track for him. His last one was at Kansas. That's why I knew he was on the list. Has Grant Enfinger won here? Yes, he has. This season, the trucks at Kansas. Who won the spring truck race at Kansas this season? Was it Riggs? No, yeah, that's not right. Oh, it was Hocevar. That's right. Carson Hocevar. Tried putting Jones. That's not on here. Jeff Burton's on the list. Put Bobby Hamilton. No. Ron Hornaday. He's on here. Bodine on here. Sprague. No. Benson. No. Early 2000s truck series is going to be hard. Crawford. Yeah, I don't know. I need help, chat. McMurray ever win Xfinity race? No. I was thinking maybe in the early 2000s. That's what I was leaning towards. Rudiman? '20's Xfinity Series. Ty Gibbs. Gregson. And Noah's got a truck win here also. 80 of 94. 2020. Xfinity. And it would have been the fall race that season. Allmendinger? No. I might have to skip that. At least Logano was able to gauge that his tire was flat before he went back out on the racetrack. After just coming to pit road before that. Cindric? Briscoe? Who? Okay, Chase Briscoe in 2020. All right. 2012 Xfinity Series is going to be tough if it wasn't a Cup regular. Did put him already. We've already had him. 2020 fall truck race. I've done well for myself to this point, but it's getting much harder. And did not put time back on the clock, by the way, for practice following the Joey Logano flat tire. Early years in the truck series. Drawing blanks. Just trying to think of like the all-time win list for trucks. Who's up there that I haven't named? I already tried Hamilton. Terry Cook. Oh, wow. I didn't think that was going to work. There's no way Darnell is on here. Oh, he is on here. Wow, Eric Darnell's on here too? '83 of 94. Christopher Bell did win here. I must not have put him. 2017 Xfinity Series at Kansas he won. I was thinking I put his name already. I know I said his name. But for some reason I didn't type it out. 2012 Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and his championship winning season in Xfinity. Got a race win. And then Jeff Green and David Green for the Busch races back in the early 2000s. 2001 in the inaugural race and 2003 for David. Carl Edwards has a truck win. That would have been tough to come by. Ricky Hendrick won the first ever truck race at Kansas. John Woods on the list. Mike Bliss. Bliss is up there in the all-time wins list. Johnny Sutter, 2010 Mike Skinner. So probably could have come across a couple of those guys had I had a little bit more time. Not bad. Not bad on the quiz. We got all the Cup names. 88%. Average score is 81%, which is pretty high for an average. But I'll take that. So Cup Series practice just wrapping up. We'll go through the full leaderboard of how that ended up shaping out. A couple of cautions for the Penske Fords of Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano. A crash for Blaney in turns 1 and 2 in the second session of practice. By session, I mean second group of practice. Right rear tire went flat and ended up hitting the wall. And as for Logano bringing out a caution, he stalled on the racetrack with the flat right rear. Luckily did not damage the car. He wasn't at speed when leaving pit road the second time, knowing that he had a flat right rear. So Chris Buescher, fastest overall, he was in Group 1. Then Zane Smith was second. Denny Hamlin was the fastest in Group 2, and he's the fastest overall of the playoff drivers. We'll look out for him in qualifying also. Bubba Wallace, fourth, who is a former winner here. Jenner Nemechek, Eric Jones, fifth, sixth. Toyota's, again, looking very, very fast this weekend. Justin Haley, seventh. Third fastest in Group 2. Chase Briscoe, another Toyota, in eighth. And Todd Gilliland, Ty Dillon round out the top 10 in 9th and 10th. Cole Custer, 11th. Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott were 4th and 5th in Group 2. They're 12th and 13th overall. Then Tyler Reddick, AJ Allmendinger, 14th, 15th. 16th, Michael McDowell, Christopher Bell, 17th, Noah Gregson, 18th, Ty Gibbs, 19th, and Austin Cindric, 20th. Daniel Suarez, 21st, Shane Van Gisbergen, 22nd, William Byron, 23rd, Josh Berry, 24th, Carson Hocevar, 25th, Austin Dillon, 26th, Riley Herbst, 27th, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 28th, Ryan Preece, 29th, and Cody Ware in 30th. Ross Chastain, last year's winner here in the fall race, 31st, Brad Keselowski, 32nd, Kyle Busch, 33rd, Alex Bowman, 34th, Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, 35th, 36th, and then I just clicked on something there. I don't know what I clicked on. Something from Logitech, an ad on the right side of the screen, apparently. JJ Yeley, 37th, last of the 37 drivers. I'm not too alarmed with Logano and Blaney being down there in the leaderboard in practice. I think them having too low of air pressure was probably the cause, knowing that both their tires went flat. So they're probably not going to get a great read of exactly what they're going to be looking for the race tomorrow, which is worrisome if you have them in your fantasy lineup. I'd be a little leery on that, especially knowing there's some good racetracks left for them in the playoffs, like Phoenix, of course. Talladega could be another one. Martinsville, Blaney's won there the last 2 years in the fall. Probably stay away from Penske this weekend in the KRC League. You can join our KRC League in the NASCAR mobile app or NASCAR.com website. Chance to win 2 tickets to any NASCAR race of your choosing the following season if you win our regular season and or playoff championship. KRC League in all capital letters for KRC, space capital L on league name, as I just put it in the chat. And coming into this weekend, as I'll pull it up on the big screen, you see Fantasy Live, left side of the screen. You'll want to join now so you're in there for next season when we begin 2026, of course. This is my team from last week. Obviously have not put anything yet with practice and qualifying going on right now. Keep clicking on the wrong thing. League. And then we go to the playoff standings. With 889 points, Monster Jam X10, who won the regular season, currently leads the playoff standings as well. 872 for P-Shat Motorsports in second. CRN Corona is also tied for second with P-Shat Motorsports. Inside Uranus in fourth with 837. Troy the Great, 835. Rounds out the top 5 and fifth. I'm at 816 and seventh. It is very, very tight through the first 4 playoff races. We had a tie last season in the playoff championship, so it's going to be fun to see what this season brings as well. Cars are getting pushed to the front of pit road. Spit it out, Keegan. All right, there we go. And Bubba Wallace has been caught up to from Daniel Trotta in the pits as well.
Carm, what are you struggling with?
I don't like anything about it.
But you are so fast.
Well, you can tell
Pulled up the lap average sheet from practice. Zane Smith still had the fastest 5 and 10 lap averages in the session. Kyle Larson actually had the fastest 15 lap average of any driver, which is the only driver from Group 2 to be fastest in any one of these categories. Eric Jones had the fastest 20, 25, and 30 lap runs, with the 2 cautions coming out in the back half of practice, or I should say the first half for Blaney, and then the late one in the back half. There wasn't really a lot of consecutive lap runs of 10 to 15 plus laps for the Group 2 drivers. So it was really tough to gauge exactly who might have the best long run speed there, other than the fact that like Denny Hamlin was able to get a few laps in, was very quick on the long run, which he usually is here at Kansas. Christopher Bell, Austin Cindric actually halfway decent also. Wallace Elliott, so some but not all made their way up onto the list. Time to get the qualifying order up. JJ Yeley will be the first to roll off when they come back from the commercial break and make his qualifying lap. Daniel Suarez second, then Cody Ware. Justin Haley, Jonathan Nemechek are the first 5. After them will be Ty Gibbs, Ty Dillon, Kyle Busch, Zane Smith, and Shane Van Gisbergen. 1 lap per driver around this 1.5 mile racetrack at Kansas Speedway, and only 1 round for qualifying. The only time we see more than 1 round is with the super speedway or drafting style oval layouts. 25 likes. We're halfway to our like goal on the stream today. We're halfway through the stream. Practice has concluded, qualifying to come. And then NASCAR Xfinity Series racing on a separate stream from this will be at 4 p.m. Eastern later today. Our coverage for tomorrow's Cup race right here on KRC will begin at 2:30 p.m. Eastern tomorrow afternoon as well. Take a quick break and get qualifying underway here shortly. Bowman is 34 at disappointment size. Yeah, that's not looking good. Promising is that his teammates of Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson look quick on the longer runs. And Bowman's had some really good races at Kansas before, spawning both with the Gen 6 and Gen 7 race cars. So Yaley is now on the racetrack, making his qualifying run. Seen him in a part-time effort for numerous races at the 44 team for New York Racing this season. It's the only open entry at the racetrack this week, excluding what would technically be open entries of 2311 and Front Row Motorsports, with the ongoing NASCAR lawsuit. 32.280 for Yaley on his lap, 167.286 mile per hour average. And on to Daniel Suarez in the number 99.
A smart, smooth lap right here.
Live leaderboard a little bit ahead of my normal broadcast feed on Hulu, which is where I watch all my races every weekend, minus the Amazon Prime Video races in the middle of the season. Suarez with a 30.727 on his qualifying lap. Hasn't had a great 2025 when it comes to qualifying, really Trackhouse in general. Between Chastain and Suarez has not, although Chastain has picked up the qualifying side of things in recent weeks. Same for Shane Van Gisbergen as well. SVG was actually top 10 at New Hampshire last week in qualifying, and even in the early going of the race, before fading back, eventually getting involved in a spin on a race start, took him out of a possibility of a good finish. Caden Fry, welcome to the stream. Third driver to make a qualifying lap, Cody Ware, 31.113. Second, Fire Motorsports in the number 7. First of the 3 Spire Chevys to qualify. While that's going on, Dave Burns has caught up with Joey Logano.
Felt it starting to feel funky through 3 and 4 there. It started kind of just didn't feel right, and so I took it a little safe and sorry and lifted off of the corner, which then ended up really getting apart. So glad I caught it there, got a little lucky, but overall it should be okay with the Shell Pencil Mustang. We'll put 4 tires on it and make some adjustments, cross their fingers, and hope she runs good.
You said should be okay. Have they assured you that it's good to go for qualifying?
Well, if it was bad enough, they'd tell me. If it's a little bit, they're probably not going to tell me. So I'll strap in and hammer down like everything's fine.
I guess that's why he's paid to do this, guys.
Jeff, what's that like as a driver? Oh, trust us, it'll be fine.
Yeah, I will say for Joey Logano, it didn't look like it was down on the rim by the time he came to a complete stop, knowing the right rear was definitely soft. As he was getting pushed back into the pits, I don't think he was in any way damaging the underbody of the race car. I guess the qualifying effort will dictate how good that race car actually is. Better than Blaney, though. He's able to make a qualifying lap. Blaney, obviously, with the damage sustained from his crash in practice, will be the only driver of the 37 that will actually not make a lap. So automatically going to be starting at the back of the field tomorrow as the driver of the number 12. Was the only driver locked into the round of 8 of the playoffs, coincidentally. Justin Haley to the top of the leaderboard with a 30.498. Jonathan Nemechek immediately after him, putting down a 30.566 and qualifying second for Nemechek of our first 5 qualifiers. Ty Gibbs, another Toyota, first of the JGR cars, will be up. On track run-in with Denny Hamlin a week ago. He's had a couple of good runs in recent years here at Kansas Speedway. Toyotas in general just usually have pace here, Gibbs being one of them. Former Xfinity winner is Gibbs at this racetrack as well. Top of the leaderboard for Ty, 30.289. No surprise of who we had for the early entrance for qualifying that he was going to jump to the top, but still pretty good lap. I don't know where that's going to hold compared to some of the faster drivers in the back half of qualifying, but good start to say the least for Gibbs. From one tie to the other tie, Ty Dillon for Colleague Racing. And the number 10 car will be out on track. Hamlin probably watching the SMT from his teammate. See what he was able to do. .836 for Ty Dillon. 5th out of 7. Tyler Reddick has been caught up to on pit road for an interview.
2023, guys. Tyler Reddick certainly knows how to get it done.
Kyle Busch, who led laps in last year's fall Kansas race, is now on racetrack. Speed of 189 miles per hour on corner entry into turn 1 for Busch. So my feed is getting caught up. He has completed a lap already, as you see on our leaderboard. 4th for Busch with a 30.667. And I believe he was the 8th driver to make a lap. Zane Smith was the 9th. And Smith will jump up to 4th. Right in front of Busch, 30.631 for Zane Smith. Smith, the former truck race winner at Kansas in 2022. And was second fastest in practice earlier before putting that lap down in qualifying. Quarter of the way home for qualifying today at the Kansas Speedway. Next 9 drivers will now be Shane Van Gisbergen, Eric Jones, Cole Custer, Riley Herbst, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Todd Gilliland, Brad Keselowski, Noah Gragson, and AJ Allmendinger on the other side of the commercial break. Ty Gibbs currently with the fast lap through the first 9, 30.289 on his lap. 178.283 mile per hour average as well there for Gibbs. He was middle of the road when it came to practice speeds overall. But so far so good in the early going for qualifying. Shane Van Gisbergen, a pretty respectable lap. I guess they weren't taking a commercial break there. 30.528. Probably not because of the incident for Ryan Blaney elongating practice just a bit. But definitely getting better when it comes to the qualifying side of things for Van Gisbergen. Top 10 last week. I don't think he's going to hold on for a top 10 this week with the lap time he put down. But even if it's not anywhere near the top 10, he has been top half of the field in qualifying a lot lately, leading into the top 10 start a week ago. Ten drivers in. So they cut the commercial break after SVG's run. Got one more car in there. So again, Eric Jones, Cole Custer, Riley Herbst, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Todd Gilliland, Brad Keselowski, Noah Gragson, AJ Allmendinger, Chris Buescher, and Ryan Preece will all be due up. 10 drivers in, 27 to go for NASCAR Cup Series qualifying at Kansas Speedway. We'll take a quick break and continue our live commentary coverage. Said it before, I'll say it again. Xfinity Series racing at 4 p.m. Eastern later on this afternoon. Roughly an hour and a half from now, we'll be live there. That race on the CW. As all the NASCAR Xfinity races will be. It'll be our first Xfinity Series race broadcast on the channel in a couple of weeks. They were off last week at New Hampshire. I was at the Bristol race the weekend before that. So I have to go back to the Gateway race 3 weeks ago. It's the last time we had live commentary for the Xfinity Series on the channel, so great to return to that. And see you guys for that action later on. "19 drivers into the practice session, qualifying session, excuse me. And with Ryan Blaney not participating in qualifying because of his crash in practice, we're down to just 17 more to go. So Ryan Preece will be up next. After Preece will be Alex Bowman, then Carson Hocevar, Austin Dillon, Michael McDowell, Josh Berry, Bubba Wallace, Tyler Reddick, Austin Cindric. Those will be the next several drivers to go out and make a qualifying run. Irene Sarah, welcome into the stream. Many others as well. Thanks for tuning in. Current top time, still Ty Gibbs. He was the 6th driver out for qualifying. We're 19 in. 30.289 is his fast lap. Eric Jones, 30.314 in second. 2.5 hundredths off. Take a quick break. You're listening live on KRC as NASCAR Cup Series qualifying at the Kansas Speedway for the Hollywood Casino 400 continues. Wait to see if Ryan Preece's lap time is going to end up posting on our leaderboard before they actually come back from commercial for my Hulu stream of the race. Probably going to happen. Showing a couple of remote control cars back in the infield camping section of the racetrack. Those are pretty good sized cars, too. I used to have a Dale Earnhardt Jr., I believe it was his National Guard, number 88, and then a Tony Stewart Office Depot, number 14. Kind of like a remote control car growing up as a kid. Pretty fun time. They whip around pretty quick. Kind of touchy with the steering. If you want to be good at it. Ryan Preece just posted a 6th place lap time, 30.438. Here's Chase Elliott as well with Danielle Trotta.
Tyler Reddick finishes that. Before I say one way or the other.
So 2nd for Bubba Wallace. He was also 2nd fastest of the playoff drivers when it came to practice time. So I would assume that that is going to be a good lap that'll hold up towards the front of the leaderboard for qualifying purposes. 30.274 for Bubba. His teammate Tyler Reddick just finishing up his lap as well off turn 4. 30.328 for Reddick, 5th place for the 45 team. So both 2311 Toyotas, first of the 2 playoff drivers to go. We're down to 9 drivers remaining for qualifying. Denny Hamlin, then Chase Briscoe, Ross Chastain, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Christopher Bell, Joey Logano, William Byron will finish things out. And again, Ryan Blaney will not qualify at all. And that is due to a crash in practice. Austin Cindric, 30.589. Going to put himself up to 19th, it looks like. Not a great lap for Cindric, as Penske seems to be struggling for speed so far this weekend. Some of that could have been alluded to the flat right rear tires for both the 22 and the 12, but the two didn't look all that great in practice. Josh Berry was lacking speed for the Wood brothers also. Same to be said in qualifying, and Cindric actually did get a piece of the wall up out of turn 4, which didn't help him as well, as he broke loose off the exit of the corner. Denny Hamlin, top of the leaderboard, 30.088. Hamlin with a next-gen win at the Kansas Speedway coming in the spring race of 2023. It's a good track for him. He's pacing in the green by over a couple tenths of a second. Lost a little bit of time up out of turn 4 compared to what Hocevar was able to put down, but obviously a quality lap still. Chase Briscoe, Hamlin's teammate, who's qualified on the pole numerous times this year, looking for a good shot at the pole. 29.987, Briscoe to the top of the leaderboard. He has not been on the pole since the regular season, I believe in the second to last race of the regular season. He was on the front row at Darlington for the Southern 500, but started second before eventually obviously dominating and winning that event. Over a 180-mile-per-hour average for Briscoe on his lap, and he had the first sub 20, in the 29.9s, first sub 30-second lap time so far in practice and qualifying. Again, that is for Chase Briscoe. Ross Chastain up to qualify next. 6 for Chastain, 30.292. The defending winner of this race with a pretty decent qualifying effort. Again, really picked it up since the playoffs started. On the qualifying and even race finishing side of things, there's a reason he is in the round of 12. Comes in just below the cut line, though. First driver out entering the day for tomorrow. So after that, 6 for Chastain. Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott for Hendrick Motorsports up next. First, Larson, a multi-time Kansas winner. 30.101 for Larson, third place. Good qualifying effort, but not good enough to break down the 19 and the 11 and the all-JGR front row. Elliott, Bell, Logano, Byron is all that is left. Christopher Bell, Joey Logano, and William Byron will be the last 3 drivers to qualify. And as for Bell, who was on the racetrack trying to follow up Elliott, who was 4th with a 30.157. Bell's going to end up 5th with a 30.165, just one spot off of Elliott, and within about 8 1,000ths of a second from the lap time that the 9 had put down as well. So in the top 10, quite a few playoff drivers up there. The only 3 non-playoff drivers would be Hocevar, Gibbs, and Jones, all outside the top 5. And Joey Logano had the flat right rear tire in practice. Not a good qualifying lap, 31.538, so there definitely was some damage for the 22 in qualifying. That he was a second and a half off the pace, so I didn't think that there was going to be much damage. Joey seemed a little bit more optimistic in qualifying that there wasn't going to be a major issue, but clearly there is. And so that means Logano and Blaney for Penske Racing both going to be starting at the back of the pack today. Final driver to qualify is William Byron, then, with Blaney not going to be making a lap. And as William Byron is going to put a lap time up, not great, 30.326 for Byron. We usually see him up towards the front in qualifying very consistently, but outside the top 10. Again, 30.326 for Byron. Supporting the red, white, and blue American flag colors this weekend. Always great to see on a race car. And Briscoe gets, I believe, his 7th pole of the 2025 NASCAR Cup Series season. And I believe this is the 3rd time in a row that either Hamlin or Briscoe has been on the pole, and the other has been on the front row with them. We'll get interviews with both Briscoe and Hamlin here shortly. Again, pole spot for Chase Briscoe by a little over a 10th over Denny Hamlin in P2. And here is Briscoe first.
Yeah,
All three of the playoff drivers at JGR qualifying top 5, along with the Hendrick duo of Larson and Elliott. So if you would have looked at the practice timesheet, you would have saw all those guys in the top 5 of qualifying. Were also in the top 6 in Group 2 of practice. Chase Briscoe on the pole for the 7th time this season. We'll go through the starting lineup for tomorrow's Hollywood Casino 400 before finishing out the stream. Alongside Briscoe on the front row will be Denny Hamlin, who gets yet another front row start this year. Row 2, the Hendrick Motorsport duo of Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott. Row 3 will be Christopher Bell and highest qualifying non-playoff driver Carson Hocevar. Row 4, Toyotas of Bubba Wallace and Ty Gibbs, and rounding out the top 10 in Row 5, Ross Chastain with Eric Jones. Row 6, 2 more playoff drivers, William Byron and Tyler Reddick. Row number 12, Josh Berry and Noah Gregson. Chris Buescher, Austin Dillon. Row 8, row number 9, Alex Bowman, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Behind them in row 10, Ryan Preece and AJ Allmendinger. Michael McDowell, Justin Haley for Spire Motorsports in row 11. Todd Gillen, Shane Van Gisberg in row 12. John Nemechek, Austin Cindric, row 13. Not a good day for Penske today. Best qualifying car will be 26 for Cindric. And then 27, 28th in row 14 will be Colt Custer and Zane Smith. Row 15, Kyle Busch and Daniel Suarez after Busch has struggled practice and qualifying today. Brad Keselowski, Riley Herbst in row 16. Ty Dillon, Cody Ware, row 17. Joey Logano and J.J. Yeley, row 18. Joey had some damage from the flat right rear tire, but did make a qualifying lap, so he's got the extra set of scuff tires, but that was pretty much all that row was for. And then rounding out the field will be Ryan Blaney in row 19, 37th. He did not participate in qualifying because of a crash in practice. So Team Penske coming from deep in the field. Going to be tough to take down. The Toyotas will look very fast all day long. And the 2 Hendrick Chevys of Larson and Elliott looking very quick as well. Thanks everybody for watching. Be sure to hit the like button if you haven't done so yet. Subscribe for more NASCAR content like this every NASCAR race weekend for Truck Xfinity Cup races, as well as Cup practice and qualifying. 2 more live commentary streams on the weekend. We've got NASCAR Xfinity Series racing in about an hour from now at 4 p.m. Eastern. And we'll also be live for tomorrow's NASCAR Cup race at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, beginning with our pre-race show. See you guys soon, everybody. Thanks for watching, as always.